Hello everybody, Big Mike here from CarBuyerUSA. I got Billy C with me today. We're going to talk about getting out of your leased vehicle. What's the easiest way to do that? The most financially beneficial, how you can make it happen, how we can help you. Bill, after COVID, I know that many of the leasing sources in the United States have elected to now change their lease agreement and force people back to either the franchise or the originating lease dealer to process that lease buyout. You can get out of your lease, but you've got to go back to the originating dealer. Can you tell us a little bit about that, what we've seen since the advent of COVID?
Yeah, I mean, COVID has affected our industry in so many ways, Mike. Leases are one of those. So a couple big picture things happened. When the prices were really skyrocketing almost on a daily basis, what we call captive lenders, that would be GM Financial, Ford Motor Credit, they really pulled back on even originating leases. And the reason they did that is a lease is really renting a vehicle. So what the lessor, the captive finance source, tries to do is identify what the price of the vehicle is at lease initiation, and then what that car will be worth at the end of the lease term, and rent the car to you for the difference in those two numbers plus an interest factor, a money factor. So they had a hard time predicting what the residual value or the value at the end of the lease term would be. So they made the leases in many ways prohibitively expensive. They projected a low residual to be conservative. So the other thing that happened is if you had a lease that was originated before COVID, you probably had significant equity in that lease. So people were able to do a third-party buyout or buy out a lease, buy the car, and then sell it for $5,000 more than what that residual value was. So we saw a lot of our customers take advantage of that opportunity. But I think as the captive finance sources observed that, they thought, well, that's not really a great service for our dealer base. So many of them required that the consumer, the lessee, trade in the lease at the dealer. So that took away some of that froth that the consumer was experiencing. It also gave the dealer an opportunity to sell them another car. Now, many of the captive finance sources restricted that. Now they're starting to loosen it up now. I think there are only a couple now that require you to trade in at the dealer. A lot of the leasing companies have let up and will allow a third-party buyout or allow the consumer to buy out their own lease. So that is more prevalent now. We can buy out almost all, if not directly, through relationships we have with dealers, franchise dealers. So it's less of a concern, less of an issue than it used to be. But buying out the lease can be a good opportunity if the residual is favorable to the market.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I know that many of the circumstances that I've heard about after the fact where people have tried to buy out of a lease and they were forced back to the dealer actually marked up the price of the residual value, and they told them they had to finance the car and that rate wasn't that favorable, and they offered them a certified pre-owned warranty or some type of extended warranty connected with the finance term of that purchase. So it's not always the best thing. I know that you can buy your lease you could buy your lease vehicle at the end of the lease term for the residual value. There may be a disposition fee or a finalized lease fee of some sort, but generally that's hundreds of dollars, not thousands, and you're not obligated to finance with that source. So you could send a check directly to the finance source if you wanted to, in which case you could subsequently sell the car to CarBuyerUSA or some other source.
Right. So a lot of times what we see is, the third-party buyout is advantageous for our customer because they may not have the cash sitting around to buy out the lease. So we can do that for them and cut them a check for the difference, pay off the lease, and cut them a check for the difference. Is something maybe they didn't have the money available, or they had the money available, but they didn't want to have it tied up for a couple months, waiting for the title or waiting for paperwork to come in. As you said, right, Mike, they're pushing a lot of them to the dealers. We love dealers. We sell to dealers every day. It's part of our business, but what a car dealer is programmed to do is sell someone that walks in the door a car. So if you walk in there with a lease,
So true.
they're thinking, yeah, I want to help the person get out of the lease, but they're really thinking, can I sell them another car? And not everybody wants to do that. So we're able to just really make it very transparent. How the transaction works is we are buying your car. There's no other, it's not a 3-card money. There's no other way that we're going to try to extract a revenue stream from you. So a lot of consumers feel more comfortable with that.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you go to the showroom. I remember I went to a Harley Davidson dealership to buy an $8 bolt for my motorcycle, and I wound up buying a $24,000 motorcycle. I went there for a part. So it's magic when you go there, and as you mentioned, dealers are, we work closely with dealers every day. We're friendly, but it's just it's a big machine. You go in there and you're going to buy something. It's just the way it works.
It has some of the same psychological effects of going to a casino. You go to a casino and say, well, I'm going to go play blackjack. I'm only going to spend $100. Well, 10 hours later, you're betting $100 a hand. You got, drinks everywhere. You're smoking. When you go there, it's, the way that the showrooms are set up is very appealing. That's time tested over many years. The way that deals are set up and how your approach is, they're very good at what they do. But make no mistake, what they want to do is sell you a car. So if you want to sell your car and nothing more, you want to take that money and put it in your pocket, and maybe you're going to buy a car off the Facebook Marketplace or buy one from a friend or from another dealer, but you want it to be very straight up, not so much of the, what's the trade, what's the payment, what's the interest rate, what's the new cars. You just want to go with cash in hand. Is we really enable and empower consumers to be able to do that. It's very powerful to walk into a dealership and say, hey, I got money for a down payment. I've got good credit. There's no trade. Here's the car I want. Is the consumer has the power in that situation. But if they go in with a trade, they don't really have any cash, they're not sure how to set up a deal, they're going to probably be in a less favorable situation. Even if there's tax savings and other advantages, simplicity, they're going to struggle, I think, a bit with that. With the trade, it's hard to know what they're worth. It's hard when all the different pieces are moving around to know, hey, what just happened in there? I don't know what the heck just happened. I know I drove out with the car, but what happened? So what we're trying to do is disaggregate that process a little bit and allow the consumer to have that power of, cash. Cash is king. I can tell you right now, cash is king because people are very illiquid. The consumer does not have a lot of free cash. They may have assets, but having liquidity is a very powerful part of the equation when buying a car.
Yeah, no doubt. Bill, if you can remember, share with us what's the most money that somebody has made selling their lease to us off of the buyout. Can you remember?
Yeah, I was thinking about that recently. So I think right after the initial COVID lockdowns, I think that was in June of 2020, I think we wrote somebody a check in excess of $20,000 for their equity in their lease, which I think the car, that the purchase price, the MSRP was around $20,000. So it's like they didn't even put any money up. They doubled their money though.
Yeah, that's insane. I know that that the lessor or the source of the lease, they lost. Their loss is the seller's gain. So I mean, obviously we benefited from that as well because we were able to buy that car and resell that for a modest profit in comparison to what the seller was able to make. But hey, that's what we're here for. We're here to turn those rocks over and help people find that liquidity and turn that opportunity into cash. And the greatest thing about CarBuyerUSA is it's free. You can access the pricing tool 24/7, and in 20 seconds, you can get a number. We don't ask for any of your personal information. We're not going to hound you. We're not going to spam you. If you like the price, opt in. Let's get your car inspected and let's do business. But Bill, thanks for joining us today. Great stuff. I think our audience will find it very helpful.